Can you see me well? Daniel.
Hello?
Daniel.
Yeah, do you hear me?
I can hear you well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. So you have your presentation, right?
But I will not show any slides.
No worries. No worries.
So
No worries.
I'm ready. Ready.
Can I get a white sheet? Printer sheet. So you'll be in the other room. So then what we'll do is I'll see if we ask so how do you think the format should be? Would you want to speak first, or you wouldn't? Because those two are digital experts. So do we take one, or you come from the business side, you speak yours first, then they come one after the other? What do you propose?
Yeah, what we do, because consider that I'm a resident speaker. So what do you think? I go first or I go after? I think let me set the stage. Let me set the stage. Bear in mind that I'm a resident speaker and a member of the Youth Connekt. So I'll set the stage, then they can come in one after the other.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Yes. So as I'm setting the stage, I'll just give the overview of the response, the COVID stages that we are in, what the world is experiencing. Then from there, I think it should be fine.
Yeah, I think that's okay. Beautiful.
So just tell guys, say something. Okay.
Yeah, let me allow you to wrap up, check your things you're working on.
Yes.
Whilst I
stages. Stages. Acceleration. There will be acceleration, accelerated adoption of digital commerce. accelerated adoption of digital commerce, decentralization and inclusion.
Good afternoon.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, sure. So hi guys. It's just 12 noon. It's noon. So maybe we would want to just give ourselves some few minutes, then we can begin. Let's get a few people to be on, then we can begin. Yeah. Okay, so hello everyone. Good to have everyone here once again, um, and to have you join the Youth Connect Fellows webinar for today. Today is the 8th day of May 2020, so it's good to have you all here. Just a few, before I call on Baraka and Kama to make some presentations, let me just make some very quick remarks. People are, I just want to make a few housekeeping rules so at least we can set the tone rolling. So as we know, it's just a quick 1 hour call for us to learn. So the housekeeping rule is very simple. We all have to have our microphones on mute. Definitely, we are here to listen to experts. Then after, if we have questions, we'd want to put our questions in the chat box. So we have to, all of us have to put our microphones on mute. Speakers will be speaking one at a time. So once they are done with their presentations, then we can move into the Q&A. For the Q&A, you would, if you have a question, you would want to just type in there, then I'll reach out to the speaker to answer or address that. I think let there be decency here. We are here to learn. We are both here to the betterment of what we're trying to do is to understand the issues. How do we together and collectively navigate and ensure we come out of this bigger, better and greater for our continent and for ourselves too. So that is my humble appeal for decorum and decency in this. So I think I would want to call on Kama if and just to make some few remarks. Then Baraka to do same. Then from UND, our UNDP officials. Kama sits with UNDP Rwanda, leading the Youth Connect hub in Rwanda. Baraka sits in Ethiopia. So I would allow Kama to just make some quick remarks. Then after Baraka to that same, then we could listen to the speakers, one after the other. So thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. And I'm very happy that we continued our pace and organized this second webinar of the series. And all credit goes to Luke and Daniel for the coordination. And I would like to thank the speakers, Simon, Luke, Edgar. And the topic is really interesting because digitization and digital technologies is not only the strategy or tools for the growth, but I think in these times it's something only strategy to survive the businesses. So it will be really interesting to understand and listen from our speakers how this digitization process or how we can further leverage this process to sustain our businesses or expand or further enhance our youth-led businesses. So yeah, looking forward to listen our speakers and listen the stories of our young people, how they are using these digitization strategies for their businesses. And yeah, welcome once again. Thank you very much.
All right. Good morning and good afternoon to everyone. Once again, thank you, Kamar. And I want to also extend my warm thanks to Luke, of course, and yeah, to Luke and Daniel, who have really been leading this and been supporting with continuing the series. And I really am encouraged by the commitment shown towards this. Definitely, mine is just to say that our world definitely is being disrupted, and even our way of doing business has got to change, and we're starting to see that there's need for adaptability in our our processes, the kind of things that we're doing. What are some of the skills that are required for the future? How do we make our businesses more adaptable, able to survive in these very, very interesting times that we're now in? So to the speakers, I really look forward to hearing from you and getting your insights on what you think the future looks like, and what is required for these entrepreneurs to survive, and for us, even as large organizations like UNDP, to be able to continue. I mean, what direction do you see the world going in terms of our operation methods? So I look forward to hearing from you, and yeah, that's it from me. Thank you.
So thanks, Ed, Kama, thanks, Baraka. So then we quickly move into the presentations. Our first speaker is Luke. Luke is based in Kenya, so I'll just allow Luke to just keep the ball rolling. Then after we move to the second speaker. So for those who, I'm just putting a bit of Luke's full name and his profile on the chat box, so everyone gets to know who he is and what he is or what he does. So Luke, the floor is yours now. You can begin.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Kama from Kigali, and thank you, Baraka from Addis. My name is Luke, the founder and managing director of Science Media Kenya Limited, the proprietor of Science TV, a TV station that broadcasts in sign language with voice as an override for persons with disabilities. I would say that we are in very interesting times, and if you look at the global pandemic, COVID-19, what it has done to the world, in a nutshell, we realize that we were never prepared for this, but we were never prepared, but we've been called upon to do our response. And of course, after our responses, there will be recovery. I will say that COVID has affected the way we learn and live and love. And going through this, you realize that one of the biggest industries that I'm seeing taking a hit, we cannot say that any organization is immune to COVID. I'll just take an example of an industry that will walk you through the blue chip all the way down to a small time trader or small time participant. And I will go through an industry like the hospitality industry. We are all aware there is an effect all the way up to people like Boeing and Airbus, in which the orders are being affected. People are not ordering anymore the manufacturing of planes. That means it's affecting a whole manufacturing. And if you look at the hotels that these industries were supposed to transport the visitors to, these hotels are actually not receiving, due to social distancing, are not receiving customers. That means the workers of the hotels are actually, some of them have been sent home. They are not able to work there anymore. And the people who are supplying the hotel with the produce from the market, that means the farmer who is doing the small vegetable farming down there in the village, in the rural village of Africa, is greatly affected. The same goes to the two operators who've been involved in the logistics of the hospitality industry are heavily affected. And this brings me to my question, that does the customer still is the king? Do we still call the customer the king? I think the dynamism in the market is actually taking over the throne, in which neither the customer nor the supplier is going to be the king, but the mode of delivery of products and services in the market is actually going to be the king. Initially, people have been concentrating on studies of consumer behaviors. A lot of investment has been on consumer behaviors to know what are the issues that affect the customer. I mean, how is the best way to make the customer happy? But now we are in a situation whereby the supply chain has actually been inverted. The funnel has been inverted upside down, and in which the delivery model is actually going to be more studied than any other a person now, let me say in the 21st century, as we just started the decade of action, from now up to 2029, we are going to experience a lot of studies on the mode of delivery. And which are these modes of delivery? Technology is coming in, and if you look at it, the leveraging of digital technology is going to be king, and people are going to discover ways of how to link these two people, the customer and the supplier, who are independent of each other, and how they're going to consume and produce. But again, we are looking at another sector that is being unsettled so hard with the energy sector. And as you all know, currently, the price of oil per barrel has actually taken a dip. And the dive is actually, a nosedive is not even gradual, it's just a nosedive, because a lot has changed. If the airlines are not moving, if the lockdowns in the cities are still there, that means the transportation has been limited. How are we going to, the countries that were depending on the fossil energy as a mode of, source of income for the country, the GDP being supported by that, how is that going to affect? So you realize that the positioning of the economies, the same time positioning of the market along the digital spectrum is actually going to be key, and is going to determine who is going to survive and who is going to go down. And this is not just the companies, the small companies of blue chip. It goes all the way to economies. If an economy that has been dependent on the energy sector, assuming the fossil energy, has been using that 80% or 90% of the economy supported by the export of fossil fuels, and that has been hit hard by no movement of people and the lockdown, the social distancing, how is that affecting the economies? So it means that we have to do a whole rethink of how we are going to navigate and be able to stand. And my take is that COVID has come as a levelizer of the playing ground. My take is it has actually grabbed the world and put it on a standstill. And in this, what I mean is there are people who are going to board in terms of better their business modes of delivery, and navigate how they are going to participate in this business scenario. Or number two is going to close down some people who are going to disembark from this particular train called the world as a result of COVID. So what are the emerging trends? The emerging trends are that we are going to see a lot of adoption of digital commerce. That means the way we pay for our goods, the way we order, the way we, everything, the way how we link down to the farmer, down the village, it's actually going to be digital. And it's not just the supply of the finished products. The supermarkets, are the supermarkets going to maintain the same space they were having? The supermarkets were being used, or the chain stores were being used to market malls. So how are the malls going to operate without these stores that have closed down because of the change in the mode of doing business? The other trend is decentralization. People have always been waking up in the morning to go to work. By that, I mean going to the office. And what I'm saying happening going forward is that after the COVID pandemic, assuming during the recovery period, some employers who had actually shed off extra space of the office because the employees were working from home will actually continue in the same space. And now knowing that an employee is actually a participant in paying the office rent simply by having a computer at home. And this also goes to inclusion. Persons with disability have been experiencing a lot of exclusion when it comes to employment because one, they can't going to the office, and the African transport system has not been very favorable for them. So it means that we are going to expand space and in which the employees are actually going to be contributors of the office rent for the employers. What does that mean? That now the level of supervision, the self-supervision, the level of maturity for the employees on delivery is actually going to change. The other thing is how our schools, the ecosystem that had been built around schools is going to change, whereby it even affects our parenting routines. How are we going to parent our children? Now the parent becomes actually, you are working at home, you are actually, your office is at home. And in this case, you realize that even our town, the urban planning, we are going to have people designing offices in a manner that this office is able to be, the house is going to be able to have an office. So selling of an office space, a home inclusive of an office space is going to become the new norm in the market. The change in outlook and the mindset of regulators around the world. People have been, or the businesses had been living on the issue of the Thomas, whereby I see to believe. But the situation is coming whereby you don't have to see to believe. How are the regulators going to play a part in maintaining standards and protect the people? The conmanship. How are we going to pass laws that are going to ensure that the digital space is operating in safe space? How are we going to ensure that our judges, our lawyers are fast-paced to understand the digital space and the digital arena? Those are the things that are going to emerge. As an entrepreneur, I believe that, and an African entrepreneur, there has been talk of the African Free Trade Area. Now, I think it will be at the forefront, as I conclude, for the Africans to decide or even redefine what free trade area is going to be. Because right now, Dr. Ume from Nigeria, right, Lagos right now, I can actually do business with him without necessarily traveling to Nigeria, because I don't have to travel to Nigeria. And that also will mean that as the youth members of the Youth Connect, we have to look at our businesses and re-strategize, recalibrate, and ensure that whatever we are doing is actually going to leverage on the digital space that has been created. And we will say that COVID is bringing its effects in three fronts, whereby we are going to have shutdowns, we are going to have new businesses that are going to emerge out of this COVID area, but we are also going to have a readoption of new ways of doing business. Thank you very much, Daniel, and thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Luke. That was an awesome presentation. So quickly, we'll go to our next speaker. Once all the speakers are done, we'll come up with a few follow-up. I'll do a few follow-up commentaries. Then we'll open up on the floor for the Q&A. So our next speaker is Simon. Simon is based in Ghana. He is the founder of When a Lawyer Digital. That is quite something doing a lot of things around the digital space in Ghana. So I allow Simon to just take up the space and get the ball rolling. So Simon, over to you.
Yes, thank you very much, African Skills Hub, for organizing this. Yes, my name is Simon, as he rightly said, and I'm honored to have this opportunity to discuss digital transformation among my colleagues and friends from across Africa. So congrats to Luke for a very nice perspective of the digital transformation during this COVID-19 and post-COVID-19. But I'm going to focus more about what we can do now and what we can continue doing post-COVID-19. So I've already shared my presentation. I presume everyone is seeing it. Admin, can you see my screen?
Yep, I can.
Great. So basically, what I'm going to okay, good. So for any business, in terms of adapting any digital transformation, there are a lot of factors that they'll consider. In fact, there are different schools of thoughts about what a digital transformation plan should contain or should not contain. So therefore, what I'm saying here is that in any digital transformation plan, there should be at least these three plans. OKRs for transformation, prioritize on the customer journey, upskill, and hire for agility. I will dwell more on prioritizing the customer journey, talk about some tactics or some strategies that have been used that are successful, that can be used during this COVID-19, and that can still be used post-COVID-19. Now, I've used the word OKR, but some people will say KPI. Now, unfortunately for me, I have worked in the tech industry for a while. So, and with my small experience, mostly we use OKRs, and especially when I used to work with Google full time, we used to use OKRs, which stand for key objective and key results. It's a very nice model. My colleague Derek, who is in this call, would share a link about OKRs and how you can adapt it for your business. I think it's a very good and simple way of making understanding how your progress is being measured. So now, first of all, there's always that initial question about who your customer is. And I'm sure if I ask anyone in this panel or anyone in this presentation, they will tell me, oh, he's the age, basically the demographic of their customer. But you should look beyond that, right? In the digital transformation system, you need to use human insights, but add data to it. So the idea behind that will be further explained in my next slides about understand the customer journey. But what you should take away from this is that you must, and at every point in time, know your customer avatar. You should have by now, literally taken a pencil and drawn who your customer is, draw his face and his legs, and put some attributes about him, and begin to refine that as you progress. And then based on the data you can get, when I say data here, I mean the analytics you can build, you can begin to have a very solid avatar of your customer, and therefore you would end up spending less to reach out to your customers, spending less to sell your products, spending less to engage with the customer, right? So, but naturally, when we say business is digitally transformed, it means it is a digital business, and therefore a digital business will mean you need a digital customer. So the question now is, who is a digital customer? A digital customer, as we all know, is a Generation Z. And Generation Z are quite the radical generation. They focus on innovation, they insist on convenience, they are always connected, and they lack brand loyalty. Now, lacking brand loyalty does not mean that they do not love loyalty programs, but do not think that they are married to your brand, because they are floating in a voting or election system. We call them floating voters. They will choose at any point in time, so they lack brand loyalty. Once you have this mantra within you, in a digital strategy, you would know, or digital transformation plan, you would know that you will always have people coming in and out, but you have to adapt how to keep them. For example, if you have a website, you are more concentrated about the bounce rate. So these are some of the things that you can begin to look at how you can improve. So the conversation here now is the customer focus as the key to digital transformation or digitalization. If you look at the customer avatar and who a digital customer is, and look at the Generation Z from that perspective, you realize three main things. There are three main requirements that if you want to build a digital transformation business and you want to leverage digital transformation for a business, there are three main prerequisites you should look at. One, relevance. Knowing your customer and where they are in any purchase journey that you want to engage with them. Two, understand that customers just want information to be clear and simple. And in fact, if a customer wants to engage with your brand, and maybe, for example, they want to buy something on your platform or on any platform, if it's more than 3 steps, you are likely to lose that customer. Just like you yourself, when you want to buy something with e-commerce or any other platform, if the steps are taking too long, they're asking you about where you stay, they're asking you so many questions, you end up leaving there thinking that, hey, I can go to a different vendor and get that done. And they want speed. The attention span of digital customers or the current customers is very short, right? Google did a research and found that 53 of users leave mobile sites when it takes more than 3 seconds to load, right? So these are different perspectives, but for me, if you want to build a digital transformation, then you should look at these 3 prerequisites in terms of being customer-focused business. Now, those times, let me just give you this scenario. Those times, for a business to generate sales, what they usually do was that they would run an ad. Maybe if a dad is watching television, they will run an ad on the TV and see that, okay, the dad is watching TV and therefore he sees an ad about the latest camera that they are selling. They presume that the dad would see the ad, be happy about ad, think about it, love the ad that he has seen, go to his favorite shop and begin to ask questions. Ideally, they presume that the salesperson there would be able to answer all the dad's questions and there'll be a sales. After there's a sale, naturally, the dad would come home, take a picture with the family, and there's happy ending ever after. That has been the mental state or mental model of businesses for decades, right? Now, digital focus or customer focus for digital transformation has changed the model. We now have what we call moments of truth. And my focus here is the 0 moment of truth. Now, if you want to adapt or build a digital business, you must begin to understand each stage of a customer's journey. So I would explain what that means. But when we say moment of truth, it simply talks about the micro moments within which the micro moments that the customer takes in the purchase journey, whether if he's thinking about it or he actually buys it. That period, that mental state, that action, these are the moments of truth. So the first moment of truth is basically I want to watch what I am into. So this is about passion. So for example, you are watching a YouTube video or you're reading a content that you're interested about. The ad that you see, naturally, you should ask yourself, the guys who are marketing or building the brand, are they just looking for brand awareness or they are targeting you based on your passion? And that's what we call interest targeting. So in businesses, we have got interest targeting that allows you to target businesses based on what they are into. So if you understand this moment of truth, then it means that your message or your content should be different depending on the micro moment or the 0 moment of truth. And then from the I want to watch what I am into moment, the person wants to know. So what the person is just, after he watches the YouTube and enjoys himself and training himself, maybe he wants to know about some few things. Maybe they've seen your ad somewhere. They want to Google it. They want to go, do you have content available that when they search about your brand, they will find it right now, right? So that's another thing that as an SME or as an entrepreneur, you should ensure that when they want to know, I want to know moments, your business can be found. And then I want to go moments. The I want to go moments basically talks, maybe at that point, the customer is exploring going to a shop that is close to him to search for a certain product. So how are you leveraging that? How are you building your brand in terms of location-based campaigns? Are you partnering with the shop owners and ensuring that you have got your products there? If you have got branches, are your locations on Google Places and other different location API platforms that allows people to see you based on their searches? Note that, for example, that when someone Google on Google or any other search platform, what the algorithms are now doing is that they show you results based on location. So you would therefore, as a business person, you will have to build your content, and whether it's to suit location-based radio campaigns, and therefore you can influence where a customer might go or whether the customer will see your products when they go to a particular shop. Then I want to do moments. I want to do moments basically can come before I want to go or after I want to go moments. This is where they look for things like how to make your own garden, how to the different how to search queries that they would generally type on Google search. Now, this is when you would be able to build yourself as a thought leader. Someone is searching, I want to do, or how to videos or how to articles on Google. Now, it does not mean that you come and teach them how to basically produce your product, but teach them things that does not really mean any, for lack of a better word, it does not affect your business. So assuming you own a salon, you might not teach someone how to fix their own hair, but you might teach someone how to clean their hair during this COVID-19 at home using different home remedies. Now, I understand that maybe someone might say that this content is already available online, but the question is it local relevant? No. Well, very few African videos or how to on these different content platforms. So if you as a business are able to leverage on this micro movement, and when someone search for when the person is in the I want to do movements, you can basically reach out to that person with your content and build your brand as a thought leader. And therefore, if the person gets into I want to buy movements, your brand influences or is in a state, we basically call that term influence consideration. At that point, the person thinks about a brand because the person has built brand love in that micro moment. It's like seeing a billboard ad or seeing an ad all over you every time, and when you're ready to buy something and you're not sure or you don't know any of the brand names, you think of that billboard ad you saw some time ago because you feel like, maybe it's a good brand because you have seen the ad all over you. That influence consideration. But with this, it happens within a micro moment because the person is searching about how to clean the house. You have shown the person a video about how to clean the house, but the person might need a product that you're actually selling. So the person would therefore will easily go to Google search and search for that product. Now, another question is, if the person is ready to buy, I want to buy movements, is your brand available? Yes, everybody's talking about e-commerce. People are startups are saying that e-commerce is very expensive to build on your own. But there's so many free e-commerce platforms that you can leverage. You can build. It's like having your own shops, and these are free. So you can basically have so many shops online without paying for it, right? And this is also free brand awareness. So basically, you would need to leverage these micro movements in any digital transformation, right? So I was told I have only 5 minutes, so I just based on that to build just this content about micro movements or zero moment of truth. I'm happy to share more information when you ask questions. So thank you very much.
Okay, thanks so much, Simon, for this in-depth presentation. So quickly we move to our last speaker, that is Ed. So Ed is based in South Africa, definitely also in the digital space. So Ed will also help us with some few new findings we need to learn. So over to you, Ed. Thanks.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Ed, you can proceed. We can hear you. We can hear you. You can proceed.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, my colleagues, first of all, thanks for the opportunity. 5 minutes is very limited to cover a lot of the things, and I think we can keep the conversations going. Thank you, Luke, Kamar, and Barak. And also the guys who presented before. I'm going to flip it up a little bit. I'm going to be a little bit disruptive. I think so. Those of us, this is not about expertise because there are no answers. And the key things is learning and agility. And I like a lot of what Simon was saying in his presentation. And because of time, I will just touch on a few things in my presentation linked to him. But the first thing I want you guys to think about is that, and I'm going to be very intense about this, is that stop talking about the world as pre-COVID, post-COVID, stopped talking about digital as a product. We were already a digital society. The problem with society is that we brought up from fundamentally in the industrial era. And so when the internet started changing everything, we hadn't yet changed our mindsets and looking at customers and behavior and product and platform. And so we still were operating with the traditional mindset of the industrial era, and yet every company that was winning was a platform company leveraging the ubiquitousness and openness of the internet. And I feel like Simon speaks the way he does because of having had experience in Google. So the first thing I want you guys to understand is that the internet changed everything. And it's important to put it into context because there is no boundary of geography, there's no boundary of product, there's no boundary of customer. There's no boundary of geography and product. There is only a customer, and the only job of a modern organization is to understand customer behavior and solve the problem. Look, the truth is, whatever way you might look at the world, even in the COVID times, it's only the platform companies that are creating the most value that are also winning now, because they were already in an era where they were leveraging digital properties to continuously learn from the behavior and solve problems. It's just that a lot of the traditional organizations thought that they had time. They didn't have time. The models had already shifted. COVID just accelerated that. You think about you guys who are here on this call, and I know Barak and Luke, we've had this conversation briefly. You've spent your entire day on 5 or 6 platforms before this call. And you're going to spend about 80 to 90% of your day on these platforms. It's not by chance. You've obviously been on WhatsApp. Luke, Simon talked about Google, Facebook, Instagram, Netflix. These platforms, you're not on them by chance. You're on them because they grew up in a world where the only thing that's relevant to have a customer is an internet connection. The moment they give you some substrate of value, they learn from your data and pivot. I agree slightly differently with Simon. It's all about the customer. The problem is that we're making this a technology discussion and not a behavior discussion. Behavior had changed. Digital has nothing to do with Gen Z, Gen X, Gen Y. Gen Z are the ones who are a little bit more demanding, and it's hard to engage them. Every single human being, as the internet becomes more ubiquitous, had already started to shift their behavior. And Simon touched on substrates of this behavior. And this behavior is driven by, I want to access my service on my phone. It has to be simple. It has to be convenient. It has to be personalized. It has to give me instant value. And all you do if you're a real good digital company is every time they're accessing your service, you're basically learning from your behavior and pivoting. But let's go back to the world. As it was. We all assumed that the world was local and linear. We all assumed that I live in Ghana, I'm working in a bank, my customer is the guy next door. Yet the world had already become global and exponential. And the only thing that COVID did was just made that clear. The world had 5 or 6 companies winning. And Mark Zuckerberg doesn't wake up thinking, I have a customer in Silicon Valley. He wakes up thinking, is there an internet connection in the world? That guy is going to be my customer. The other fallacy of the world was that we still existed in the old substrates. I'm a doctor, I'm an engineer, I'm a fintech, educate. That world stopped. The world is not about knowledge and expertise. It's about curiosity, because the internet basically has meant that knowledge is a commodity. It's ubiquitous. It's exponential. I can Google any subject right now. I can be speaking to a chemical engineer in another part of the world, and he mentioned something. I'll Google it in a few seconds. I'll have knowledge, and we'll have a conversation. This is why the top 20 companies have already removed a university degree as an entry requirement. But we grew up in a world that was very linear. We grew up in a world that was specific to domains. So we can't see beyond our boundaries because of our mental programming. That's why we talk about things like fintech. If you think about Amazon and Facebook, and you really ask yourself, what business are these people in? They don't care. They sell you online products, they're in entertainment, they're in music, they're getting to financial products, because we're in the platform world where you give me a product, you learn from my data, and you pivot. And they understand this world because Simon talked about the moments. They learn from the moments. You have to apply data to learn from the moments. If you're not doing that, you're irrelevant. Most modern businesses, and I'm going to be very intense about this, are going to fall apart in the COVID era because they didn't understand that online wasn't an option. It was driven by behavior and convenience. And the scary thing is that when we come out of COVID, the online behavior will have only accelerated. And it's not only about online behavior, it's about understanding customer value and pivoting against that. And we misuse that because we make it about technology and the platform. And they do that well, which means that in your area, the first question that you should ask yourself is, who is my customer and what problem am I solving? Simon was very eloquent about that. I won't go into that. The second question is that now that I've solved this problem for the customer, am I sure that he likes the way I've solved? And this is data speaking. What else does he want? What else is he saying to me? And it's not just about build an app and go out there. It's about build an experience where, like Simon said very quickly, in 3 seconds, if you don't have my attention, I've moved on. And guess why that's the case, guys? Because I'm already used to that Google experience. That is 3 seconds, and I'm already comparing you. And this is the fallacy that most people didn't understand or still don't understand. There are no two divides. There's no digital world and non-digital world. There was a world that was moving digital because the internet had changed the game. And the two things that should keep you up at night, the internet was becoming more ubiquitous. Access to technology was becoming shorter and easier. Somebody talked about digital equalizing it, and we'll talk about that in a second. These guys that you see on the screen are not winning by chance. They have a very simple model. They give you value, they leverage your data, and you stay on their platforms. And we have had so many conversations. You could be a small startup having a car fixing watches. You're losing to YouTube. Why? Because today Edgar is going to wake up in the morning and his watch is broken and he's going to watch a YouTube video how to fix a watch. That was Edgar 5 years ago walking to you. Or the doctor that you were going to get a prescription from because you know you had some symptoms. Now you're Googling them or using an app and going straight to the pharmacy. That's the doctor dying. Let's talk newspapers because we're working with a media company. You don't think about newspaper sales dying because your news is on Twitter feed every second, but your local newspaper, which is probably closing, is not dying because another local newspaper opened. It's dying because you get your news on Twitter and Facebook. And you don't think about these things consciously. It's behavioral. The more you spend time on these platforms, you're taking out every other modern organization around you. And this is the conversation. You're spending time on these platforms because they're tapping into your behavior. It's not by chance. And they're learning from your behavior all the time. We talk about big data and analytics, and Simon articulated some of these things well. These things are what shift the world. And this world is not coming back, guys. It's not a world that looked like the old world. It's a world driven by an online customer who wants convenience, he wants choice, he wants simplicity. We don't talk about e-commerce just because of the fact that we're in COVID. We're already driving towards e-commerce because of the simplicity for me to sit in my home and order something and it comes to me. COVID just fast-tracked the fact that most modern malls were already losing clients. Amazon was taking more of the share of the wallets, and everybody with an online business was beginning because they were driving convenience. They were driving a new behavior, not because of a shop. Behavior had shifted. But we don't know how to look at the world from the lens of a customer. We looked at the world from a lens of a product. That world doesn't exist. And guys, what should keep you up at night is that as technology becomes more ubiquitous, understanding of data becomes more ubiquitous, it is easier to disrupt the big giant. I'm doing some work with big companies. And last year, we were trying to caution them that it doesn't matter your size. You will die in a few weeks because we're in a world that's exponential. But the largest COVID site was built by a 17-year-old leveraging internet properties. And we're still trying to send kids to school to get a doctor degree or a law degree when they have online platforms that they can leverage to solve problems. And the thing that should keep you up at night is that growth and scale doesn't happen in the digital era slowly. It happens exponentially. Well, Simon was talking about moments. When you hit the sweet spot of a moment of truth, the world takes over. Social platforms means that the user will drive the scale. No marketing is necessary. Hashtag Edgar's product is the greatest takes over. You can go from not being known to 100,000 downloads in 1 week, which is the same thing how a bank can lose 1 million of its customers to a digital consumer in 2 months. And that's what should keep you up at night. But the important thing is that you need to build this journey with the customer. And the most important thing, and I'll stop there because there's not enough time, is that it is a structural limitation that means that we can't see the new world. Education system taught us to think about product. It taught us to think one-dimensional. The modern business was built for product, not agility, not learning. They have product divisions. So they have hired hundreds of people to push a product to the market. When that customer has already moved during a moment of truth, Simon talked about this well. In order for you to really be good is you have to move to market fast and learn. And this is a world which was structural and punished mistakes. We looked at a product and a role and not the actual value people were creating. And I'm telling you the truth is that the modern businesses will not come out of COVID the way they are. Most are going to fall because they don't have the agility to leverage data and learn. If you're a young entrepreneur and you're trying to look at the digital era, ask yourself 2 questions. What problem am I actually solving? Who is my customer? What is he? What does he look like? Is this what is actually customer saying about this stuff? Is it really valuing what I'm saying? And the only thing that's important is to validate the data in the market. I'll stop there, guys, because we should have Q&A. There's quite a few things to share. The important things to take away from this is that there is no post-COVID or pre-COVID. There is a digital era, and I even hate to use the word digital. There's an era where the internet levered the playing ground, removed boundaries, changed our behavior, drove a platform economy that's all about learning nonstop from the behavior. It's not about staying static, and that's why modern companies are dying, because there's no agility in them. They don't have the ability to learn on the fly. And the Googles of this world, the Facebooks of this world, the Instagrams, the Twitters, the Netflixes, all the digital era companies that you're spending most of your time on, that's all they're doing, learning from your behavior, giving you more and more value. And as you do that, you kill your local TV, you kill your local newspaper, you kill your local mall, you kill your local newspaper. And that's where you need to focus, not what you learned in school, not what we have been taught for 20 years, 30 years, but what is the new model? Where is the customer? What is value? How do I leverage data? How do I move with him? Because Simon said it well, nobody's waiting for you. You have 3 seconds to make an impression on Edgar. And that's only because Edgar is comparing you subconsciously with Google. Let's stop there and let's take questions, because there's not enough time to cover the material. I'll send this material. Data, 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 experience, experience, experience.
Wow. Thank you so much, Ed. Thank you so much. That was a heavy meat to really dissect. Thank you so much for this. So what I'll do is for attendees, what we'd want you to do is we'll be happy if you just post in your questions in the chat box. But and so that you can just go ahead and type your questions in the chat box. I'll do what to refer that to the speakers. But to all 3 speakers, this is a question to you all, and I know that anyone can just pick it up and answer. So this is my question to you. Attendees who can be typing their questions in. Already I've seen one. But I wanted to really find out in conclusion from your talks, what I get to understand is it's obvious we are now being conscious about digital being a way of life. So I think earlier part of our life, we always got to know culture is the way people live together. So the food they eat and how they talk to people and what they wear. But I think digital is now becoming a culture or a way of life for people moving forward. That is no two ways about that. But I also get to, from your talks, I also get to understand what and who a digital customer is. My question to all 3 is, for young businesses in the context of Africa, for us to be digital, definitely you need the phone, you need internet, and internet is already a big issue in the various African countries. We know that. It's just a few that have very good internet penetrations. So for young enterprises like ourselves, what do we have to do in order to make sure we understand the digital customer very well? Because in our businesses, what are the models we have to begin to, these days, moving forward, focus a lot more on? So then Ed, Luke, and Simon, you may want to answer me. Then questions are also open. I think I'll begin to read the questions later on too. So Ed, Luke, Simon, anyone can pick up this question. I wanted to understand, what do we have to do as young enterprises to really understand and engage this digital customer in our various SMEs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go, Simon. Go, Simon. You want me to go?
Yeah, proceed.
Yeah, okay. So I mean, yes, and Simon can actually, because he works at Google, also have a lot of points. I think for me, it's a very simple equation. There are 3 steps to it for me, or 2 steps. And the first question is, it's not about technology. Stop getting carried away as a young entrepreneur that you have an app, or you're going to use IoT, you're going to have whatever the case might be, or you want to use AI. Start with the first question: what problem am I actually solving? Is there a need? And part of the way of understanding a need, and there's not enough time to talk about design thinking, is to follow the design thinking methodology, or if you're already in there, to start to leverage data. Because there's a lot of problems to be solved in our continent with technology, like tons of them. But the problem is that people rush to either want to have a platform and an app without really specifically understanding the need. And don't try and rush to be like, I want to compete with Amazon. And you neither have the resources or the long play to create a proper e-commerce site. I mean, Simon said it well. I mean, it's not that you shouldn't go into e-commerce. Today, there's many templates and things you can leverage to start very quickly. The second thing you need to understand is that it's a world of continuous learning. You know, there is no silver bullet to success. So what I mean by that is that even if you go down the substrate with whatever journey you are, whatever app or platform you're using, you have to learn from data all the time. And the problem for a lot of our young entrepreneurs is that there's not enough investment for the long play. People want to monetize upfront. I already shared with you. It's impossible to monetize upfront because you're competing with players that give us value free. People don't understand that as human beings now we have choices. The moment we see something that costs $5, we're Googling to see, can I get it for free? And it's not that we will not want to pay you, but there has to be an aspect of value in your product. You need to be leveraging the long play, that how am I going to continuously get scale by giving value? And how am I going to keep pivoting? And Simon's moments of truth waits until I hit the sweet spot, which means that there is no easy answer. And young entrepreneurs need a runway. They need support and funding to do it properly, but they need to think about the customer. And if you're really authentically thinking about the customer and the purpose of your business, you have a big ability to pivot all the time. It's about agility. And these big businesses, and a lot of them don't get it right, the ones that we spend our time on, they're pivoting all the time based on data. It's not rocket science. The reason why you don't want to be pivot is that you become so obsessed with the idea. You think that I have this idea, I'm so cool, I'm going to change the world. And you insist on it when nobody wants it. And the data will show you nobody wants it, or no one is even using your platform, and you're not humble enough to pivot. Think about the clear customer problem, have a clear sense of purpose while you're doing it, learn from the data and pivot. Simon, over to you.
Thanks, Edgar. You have said a lot, so I'm going to try not to repeat what you just said. But there are a lot of tools available, right, that can help you as a business to, become a better digital business and to reach out to a digital customer. And there are also some tools that even if you don't have a business but you want to start a business, can literally let you know where the demand is. So for example, one of my favorite tools is Google Trends, right? So Google Trends, for example, I'm sure Derek will put the link to Google Trends here. So Google Trends basically helps you to understand what people are currently searching for within any geographical area. Of course, a few countries' data is still quite small for Google Trends to adapt, but I'm sure soon almost all countries will be there, if I'm not wrong. So basically, I think it's a very good platform to understand. You can even tailor it to your industry to see what are people actually searching for within your industry, or the trends within your industry, just beyond general data. And now, of course, analytics. You need to find a way of always harvesting data, as my colleague just said, and they don't always think about complex data. Start with something small. Start with your Facebook Insights. You want to share something on WhatsApp. Don't just copy your link and dump it on any chat platform or any WhatsApp. First, build it, customize the URL, track the information, and know who is clicking. You can use tools like Google Analytics to copy and build a customized URL to be able to measure and see, okay, these are people that are clicking my link, they're coming from here. Once you have that pool of data, you can begin to see which of them actually are giving you the needed results, right? And as for understanding the digital customer, is you have to first understand, even you yourself, are you digital inclined? How is your digital lifestyle? You need to also examine yourself and see, okay, because we can give you all these tools, you just go use them for one day and forget about them, right? So the idea is also build yourself to adapt and work with the digital tools so you can use them to build your business. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I just want to touch on a few things, and it actually boils down to customer. As young entrepreneurs, first of all, do we understand your customers? And as my colleague has said, that what is your lifestyle? For example, what's your digital lifestyle? For example, you cannot be telling guys that you are an investor. Let me say you actually selling or brewing wine, but you don't know the taste of the best wine. Okay, I was saying that we cannot be telling people that you sell good wine, but you don't know that wine. I mean, you don't do wine yourself. That means you don't know the taste of what you are selling. That means your lifestyle is not there. That's number one. Number two, I want to briefly just jump into how sometimes the youth perceive or the young entrepreneurs perceive their businesses. For example, it's very important for a young entrepreneur to pivot their business to understand this customer. Sometimes the person consuming your product will not be that person who is paying for that product. So it's very good to understand who is your buying customer and who is your consuming customer. There's some products that are actually consumed and paid for by the consumers, but there are products that are for example, if you are building an app solution for schools, you realize that it's kids who will be probably using this app, but the government could be your customer who is actually paying for that particular app. So as youth also, when you are doing analysis of your products and understanding your customer, you should always look for what are you selling? Do you live the talk? And if you live the talk, who is your customer? Is it the paying customer who is also the consuming customer? Because differentiating that becomes very easy and very, very important for moving forward. Thank you.
Okay, so thanks so much to all the three speakers, Luke, Simon, and Ed. So we're just moving straight to the Q&A. So then Q&A, I'll play with you. What we do is just typing in there. I'll refer that to any of the speakers. If it's addressed to a particular speaker, I'll do what to make sure he or she goes for that. So I think there's a question from Charlene to Ed, and I'll send that to Ed. But Ed, so you could check the question. Hi, Ed. With logistics and supply chain being restricted in terms of movement across borders and continents, how do I navigate in a country that has not leveraged the internet? So that's a question to Ed. Ed can take over then. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, and for me, to be honest, that there is a difference between the digital era and using digital specific as a technology. The whole thing about the digital era is, or whatever you want to call it, is that because customers have choices, it's all about solving problems. A lot of problems can be solved without the internet. So let me be clear about that. The internet has fundamentally shifted our behavior, which has also shifted mindsets, but it's not the only way that we can actually solve problems. And there are a lot of examples of innovations. So Charlene, I think, look at first of all, there'll be enough internet users in your market that you can use. But second of all, and this is a scary thing for me, and the thing that I felt that people really miss about the beauty of a digital platform with the internet is that whatever solution that you have, and that is very specific to solving something like nuance, like a legal requirement and a requirement, your whole customer base does not necessarily have to be specific or stuck in your geography. The internet basically opens you up to solve problems across the industry. I mean, the world. It obviously just depends on the product that you're selling, but there's no reason why people can't consume your products and they're not in your geographical area. There's no real answer to this. I mean, if I talk about the importance of the internet, I think, and I've been lobbying a lot of like senior players, because last year I spent a lot of time with a lot of senior people in governments and private sector, and even way before COVID. And I was very clear that the internet is the most important asset for any society today. Why? Because it gives people access to solve things quite quickly, but two, it gives them access to knowledge and education. We could have a whole conversation about why the education model is already relevant. And so we're trying to lobby the fact that the internet is not a model. It's not something you sell. It's like electricity. It should be readily be available for everybody. But the other aspect to the conversation is that you can solve problems without the internet. The key thing is about the customer. What problem am I solving? Is there a need in the market? Can I learn from the data to continuously solve the problem? And sometimes data doesn't only need to be through Google Trends, although I think I like what Simon has shared, and a lot of stuff is available at Google. But the problem, the biggest challenge, not the problem, the bigger challenge is how to think beyond what has always been your traditional thought process, which is why whatever you studied, you think specifically in that domain, or wherever you live, you think very specifically within your local geographical setting. There's no really easy answer, but just be agile. And to be honest, I think we're about 2 to 3 years away where everybody will have access to the internet. And the last thing I'd say about that, Charlene, which is why for me, I'm surprised that we made working from home such a big deal when COVID happened. And if you look at most modern businesses, the only thing people drove into the office to do was to switch on their computer and log onto the internet and start accessing all the platforms, which basically meant that you could do the same thing at home. So the mindset needs to shift away from the tool to the value you're creating and the product. And the problem you're solving. I don't know if that makes sense, Charlene. But
Okay.
I'll also send my presentation. It's covered quite more. A lot of these things are covered there. There's a lot more stuff in there.
I would like to add a few comments to that.
Yeah, please, Simon.
Yeah, so in terms of optimizing your business, when your industry is offline, it's still about data. It's still about knowing your customer and still gathering information. And there are a lot of offline ways of gathering information and gathering the insights about your customers and about how the processes are working. So, for example, those times when we used to do, even up to now, when researchers are doing field work, they go to places where there's no internet, there's no form of technology. So what they use? They use featured apps that you can easily dial your phone star, to the telecom company star, whatever, and it picks the data without you actually having internet access, right? So you have to find innovative ways of gathering insights, but storing it and keeping it so you can build a huge record. And with that record, you can fine tune that to know how things are working, where you're getting more money, where you're getting more interest. Now you're getting more calls from this particular location. Does it mean that you have to open a branch there, or you have to begin to find a middleman to control? So it's not just about online, but find a way of building enough insights or data to be able to expand or optimize your business. And of course, as much as the digital tools are readily available, but there are also offline tools that you can leverage or you can build with a software team for your business. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Simon. So Simon, just back to you again. There was a question from Kosiwa. Kosiwa wanted to find out, we are in a digital era, right? But there are still things that are being done on site, like construction. How does a sector like construction navigate in a digital era? So that was a question from Kosiwa.
Well, there are two ways of looking at this. Construction leads to real estate. Real estate is one of the billions of industries online, right? So even though construction is a block and what they call it, I've forgotten the phrase, but basically, even though it's an offline business,
brick and mortar. I think you're looking for brick and mortar.
Thank you, brick and mortar. So even though it's a brick and mortar business, it does not mean that you cannot influence or you cannot optimize or you cannot build your brand online, right? In fact, your question is quite it's kind of broad, so I'm not sure of how to approach it. But assuming that you are in the construction business, but you are trying to build more customers, you need to show them. Now there's VR that allows people to see. So assume that you are construction and maybe you are building homes for people abroad who are not based, the diaspora who are not based in your country. One of the fears that the diaspora have is that they send money to families who end up going away with their money and the construction is not done. But if you build yourself as a brand that people don't need to come to site, but basically can use digital tools to see and monitor what you are doing for them, then you are building a new market, a new industry of people that have so much money, but that they don't have the time to come to their villages or their cities to build, but they want someone to manage it, and they are currently looking at a brand with credibility. So there are a lot of approaches about how you can work in the construction world with digital. Unfortunately, your question does not really give me that narrowing conversation, and I can't really I can actually spend an hour.
100%, Simon. Just to add a little bit, I think the other thing that you should take away is that the shift, and for me, that's why I don't like to use the word digital, it's driven heavily by technology. And I think one big asset is the internet and blockchain and big data, et cetera, et cetera. But the other thing you need to worry about is that, I mean, we need to be reskilling and repurposing people. So, you know, you talk about the construction industry, and Simon actually spoke very eloquently about how you can leverage online tools to make it relevant. But my biggest worry is that a lot of the industries are going to be automated quite quickly, and not only automated just because of using tools, which makes it faster, but also things like 3D printing, which are already happening in some parts of the world to print houses. So for me, the construction industry is also going to be disrupted, and disruption for me in this era is around the fact that accelerating technology means that you can solve problems differently and better. I think the biggest challenge and conversation also linked to very specific and traditional industries is that how do you move those skill sets very quickly? Because reskilling is going to be necessary. One of the reasons digital transformation, and I hate to use the word because everybody wants to rush to tech, first to take off is just self-preservation fear, trying to think that jobs are going to be protected. You think about every industry right now that thought that, oh, it wasn't necessary for them to have digital transformation because they thought this was 5 years ago. What are they doing with all the employees? Imagine, and this is a problem we had with businesses last year when we were talking about reskilling and skills transformation. Imagine now you're suddenly rushing to put your entire business online. What are you going to do with those thousands of people you employed that were working, sitting in shops and handling logistics? And so the bigger conversation is not just about digital, it's about the technology in this digital era and what it does for reskilling. Because trust me, guys, if you're on this call, there is no single industry or institution in this world that is not going to either be disrupted now or disrupted in the next 6 months or was already going to be disrupted, because every model has changed. The ones who win are the ones who apply their minds quite openly on how they use tools differently in an agile manner to solve problems. No industry will stay static, none. And you should go away with that in mind. There's no specific industry in this entire universe, whether in the public sector or the private sector, that's not going to feel the shift, which was already happening, but now that's been accelerated. So this is a super important conversation, not just about digital, internet, technology and tools, about reskilling and repurposing.
Wow, thanks. Thank you so much, Ed. Another question from Simon from Ariana. Ariana is based in Sierra Leone, a lady doing a lot in the development space for young boys and girls. Ariana wanted to find out from Simon. Simon, can you share with us some offline tools? I know you've already dropped some, but Ariana wants more. So then can you share with us some offline tools?
Sure. I would, frankly speaking, for the featured app like this, is most of them are custom to the business. But yes, I'm happy to, I'm sure you have their email addresses, so I would build a deck on that and then share with you to send to them.
Okay.
But
okay.
Simon, I want to say something small, and I know you can leverage Simon, but guys, I'm going to really, you know, in Uganda we call it chiboko. I'm going to give you guys a hiding. Stop being lazy. Like, you know, I just was leading a software company and we had a very big sign on our thing because we used to go in and build all sorts of custom solutions for it, but we had a big sign. Don't ask me you haven't solved the problem until you've Googled. I mean, Simon is from Google and he can give you a lot of tools, but this is my problem with modern society. Why do you want to be handed stuff? Go to Google. I mean, I'm sorry to be very direct and frank, but the world's resources are bloody there. Guys, wake up. And this is why we're quite intense with young people. The tools are there. People like Simon can give you guidance. We built it when I was a software company with 18, 19-year-olds. We'd walk into an organization, have no idea about the technology that you're using. Go and Google, and a few days later, we have an answer. This is the importance of the internet, guys, and I'm being intense for a specific reason because you're young people. This is the importance of the internet and ubiquitous access. The answers are there. Look for them. Don't wait to be given them. So and you do need to leverage people like Simon who works in Google and can give you tools. But this is also why Google is such an amazing tool. Like if you go and type online tools to leverage data, how many hits are you going to get? And you spend time looking at them. And this is why for us, we're quite intense with young people and organizations. This is a mindset shift. The information is available to us in an open and ubiquitous world. It's up to us how hungry we are as human beings to leverage this information. That's what's important.
Yes, so, well, first of all, I'm not currently working with Google as a full-time employee. I used to Google as a
I only refer to, I know that, Simon, but I'm just saying that you learned from that. So don't worry, I was just teasing them when I said that.
And yes, I think you made a quite strong point. But yes, again, I understand that they need a guidance. So yes, we're still guiding you, but he's made a strong point that always make Google your good friend, and or not just Google, but any search platform, make it your good friend. But at the same time, I actually said this today earlier on in a different discussion somewhere. Always trust, but verify. As much as you are looking at using these platforms to search, but always, or even listen to us, always trust, but verify. That's what I'm telling you.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Simon, Ed, Luke. Any other questions? Any other questions? So then we take the concluding responses from our concluding remarks from our speakers. Then we call it a day. Any other questions? Okay, so then because it's quite a very heavy meal, and we'll have the presentations from both, we'll share that on a platform, that is presentations from Edgar and Simon. So then because it's something we have to go sit and really learn from and look at how to adjust, understanding who a digital customer is and how we adjust that for a new continent and for a new, bigger, greater works in our initiatives. So I think we're almost 15 to 1 hour 30 minutes. So then what we'll do is I'll just want to take the concluding remarks. I'll start with Luke, then I come with Simon, then I come with Ed, then we call it a day.
Thank you very much, colleagues, that we've been able to participate in this meeting, and we've actually learned a lot. I have, of course, some take homes that we've picked, and it's going to help us. But the thing that I would like to advise the youth, entrepreneurs, and as we move into, setting out as our businesses and trying to realign them to the new reality, that let's try to understand the customer, because unless you understand what you are selling, who you are selling to, and where the person you are selling to is found, then you find that you're always operating on a treadmill where you are just running, sweating with your business day, year in, year out, but you're not experiencing that growth, of course. And again, there is no magical or silver bullet. The business has to undergo its what we call a natural course for it to realize its potential. But again, there are those times that we have a boom in business, and you find that you would be having the right business at the right time and be able to make money. But let us not lose hope. Let's just push on with our businesses as entrepreneurs. And I think we are at the right time and doing the right thing, and we are going to make it. Thank you very much. And for those who have a very good evening. For those who are in the East African region, and those who are probably in the West African region in the afternoon, have a blessed one. And those who are waking up, have a very good morning. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, Luke. Before I call in Simon to wrap up, and then Ed comes in to finish through, I think Kelvin, one of our fellows in Tanzania, just sent a message that he wants to add, just make a point of inclusion to our submission. So then, Kelvin, you can just have a minute or two. Yeah, sure. Yeah, so you can speak.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Please go on. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Luke, Ed, and Simon, for great presentation. For me, I can accept dialect for all the presentations that this is the time we need to think beyond. We need to move the world need to be there. The world need to be to work on the digital ways. That's why we need to focus on that way. But when you see this pandemic disease, you can see that everything is already stuck on this time. For the people like us who work on the when I can use my example. I'm work on chalk production, so I depend on school. When the school open, I depend to student. When the students come to school, and I sell chalk to schools. But this time on this pandemic disease, opened my eyes, and I can see that I need to think beyond. I need to restructure my activities. I need to restructure my product. That's why for now when I'm thinking about starting something can be valuable that on that way. Even there is a time of like this, I can still do the business. When the
Hello, Kelvin. I think
for
that we're not
education
okay.
to fix that. For now, we can sell our children schools, but we can sell our app to government or to students, and the education can still move on. That's why I can see that according to I think it's Edgar, that this is not coming for only for Corona, but it's already already the old change from where we come from, and now we are standing at the same. We're not standing at the same place. We're standing on the different place, and now is the digital era. So we need to change. And for me, I can say that this pandemic disease opened our eyes that this is the real world needs to focus. Anytime, any place, things can go wrong. Things can change. So we need to be ready for these changes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kelvin. Thank you so much, Kelvin. So, Simon, over to you. Then Ed comes in. Then we conclude our call. Yeah.
Okay. This is kind of a very brief discussion we have had, but it's good because sometimes all you need is just a brief reminder that you need to optimize your brand or you need to start something. So with that said, I've always, not of late, but now I am more of an ambassador or an evangelist for learning. So I would like to just tell you guys, learn. This is the time to learn about things that you don't know. This is the time to build your capacity. This is the time to equip and get more skills. There are a lot of tools out there that are free that you can build capacity and get a new skill or even learn more about all these topics that we're saying. My colleague Derek would put in some few ones, but for example, there's one by IBM that is teaching you how to code and all of that. There's Google for coding. There's even a Google scholarship for developers. There's so many, and they're all free, right? All you just need is to commit your time to learn, right? And the reality is that most companies are, most people are losing their jobs of late. Now, imagine that maybe you are an entrepreneur, fine, that is good. But imagine that you're actually working somewhere and COVID-19 affects you, or the company has to reevaluate how relevant you are to the company. You need to build more skills. You need to build new skills, right? So just keep learning within this period and keep adapting. Never have that mind that COVID-19 is affecting what I'm doing. Just see it as a normal business struggle, and you're going to work it out because this too shall pass. And when the cloud goes, we'll all see. The light will be there for us to see where you are now. So you need to work on that. All right, thanks.
Well, thank you so much, Simon. Before I call in Ed, I think that was an amazing one. But what I'll need from you personally is maybe after the call, by close of the day, if you could share with me, edit a couple of so many tools so we can share on our WhatsApp platform as a fellowship. So that I'll personally need that from you. There is a lot we can learn from, and thank you for that. So I think Ed, you can also conclude on your final remarks. Then we take it up from there. Hello, Ed.
Sorry, I was muted. You know, when you're working from home, you have young ones running around. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Can you proceed?
Yeah, sorry guys. So first of all, apologies for the intensity. It's a very short time. It was purposely necessary to be intense to really challenge you. Look, I was saying that I spent the last 2 years working with many institutions, organizations around digital transformation. Before that, I was at Ericsson, where I was setting up innovation. And I think one thing that started to become clear is that agility and change was constant. For me, it was very distressing that the world couldn't see these models, and I think COVID has accelerated it. I think Simon ended well, and I'll just build on a little bit to what he said, and I hope you can see my slide. I think the important thing that happened, pre-COVID, post-COVID, was all around the fact that because we're in an internet era, a digital era, where boundaries were blurring and product were blurring, the most important skill set was learning. I really don't like the word expert. I mean, before we started, people were talking to us about being experts. Look, if you're an expert today, you have $1 billion company. Everyone else should just be on a learning journey. And that's the important thing. The important thing is that the big shift in whatever you want to call this era, the digital era, is that the only skill set that is super important is the ability to continuously reinvent yourself. And what I mean by that is not just some philosophical stuff, is to learn all the time. And the hardest thing for modern society today is to unlearn all the models that prepared us to go into one job and retire and die there. And that's why this shift is so hard for everybody. Many companies already were doing rapid experimentation, had many mental models, and they of course, they got hit by COVID, but they're not dying. Most modern companies, unfortunately, will die in COVID because they had one model. They talk about learning, but they want to push a product down your face. They talk about reinventing themselves, but they don't want to fail. The most important thing is your ability to continuously learn. And Simon touched on that. Because the world will not look like how it was before, and it had already started changing. And the world is going to be an exciting new place if you can find your passion, use it to solve problems, continuously learn from the data and pivot. It's the only thing that's important. And those companies that are doing that well are going to win. Most of them are going to fail. I'm going to leave you with a quote from Steve Jobs, because today I couldn't talk about purpose. We talk to modern people and business about finding your purpose. And Steve Jobs, you all heard his Stanford commencement speech, but towards the end, he talks about life and work. And he says, you're going to spend most of your time at work. In order to have a successful life, make sure you do a bloody good job. In order for you to do a really good job, make sure you find something that you really love. And like all matters of the heart, you will know when you do. And until you do, don't settle. That quote is important for me because people look for careers, not passion and purpose. They look for money, not impact. Real money comes from impact, not money. Not real success comes from impact. Money will come if you're trying to solve a problem, not trying to have a business model that's successful. Find your purpose, guys, and be humble and vulnerable to learn all the time, and the world will be a great place. I wish you luck, guys. You can do it, but you have to know that there is no expertise. There is a continuous world of learning.
Okay, so thank you so much, Ed, for this concluding remarks. So then, Kama, I would be happy if Kama just steps in and just to let us hear from you. If there is any UNDP voice would want to add to anything, submission, remarks, conclusion, or something. If either Kama or Baraka, but Kama, I'll be happy if there is anything you would find out from any of the UNDP folks, if there is any concluding remarks to make.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you all the speakers. It was a very insightful webinar, and yeah, it was more like I can't say this was a webinar. It was more like a very coaching-oriented workshop, and I really enjoyed every single word of our speakers, and they were very motivational. And I was touched when they talked about this behavior and mindset thing. It's not only about the digital tools and techniques and strategies, but the behavior part, I was really inspired. And that's really most important thing that we as a young entrepreneur should focus on. And yeah, I actually don't have much to give like a closing remarks or words, but I'm really touched and I'm really, really thankful. I was reading some of the comments. I was looking forward to have some female voices and some gender side of these digitization, whereas earlier discussed, maybe we can go with another female focused webinar. But I'm really, really touched with this webinar, and I'm really thankful to the speakers and looking forward to work with you in future. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Okay, so thank you so much, Kama, and once again, thank you to the speakers, Luke in Kenya, Edgar in South Africa, and Simon here in Ghana with me. So I'm Daniel, I'm based in Ghana too. So then thank you to everyone. Definitely we'll do what to share the video and the audio of this workshop. As I mentioned, Simon.
Daniel, can I say something?
Yes,
I forgot.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I actually invited one of our colleague, Jeha. She's our new business specialist. She works with young entrepreneurs in Rwanda who are the Youth Connekt beneficiaries. So the purpose was to bring her to help and design any new webinars for the young entrepreneurs. So maybe we can also utilize her capacities and expertise. So yeah, that's just wanted to introduce her, and maybe in coming webinars we can also engage her for the planning and organizing these kind of workshops. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And hello, Jaiha. Definitely after, I'm sure we'll connect on WhatsApp. But thank you so much. And definitely a big thank you to everyone. We'll do what to share the video and audio of this. And also we'll stand by for some of the tools and websites and links from Simon and others, just to make sure we help ourselves. As I conclude, I just want to say one thing is my takeaway is definitely we all have to look for who our digital customer is in our business. And we know for this digital customer, they're already competing with the various platform companies like the Instagram, the Facebook, the Netflix, and the Twitters and others. So then we have to find a way to make sure we understand and know our digital customer. So that is my take home away. But as we are still in the COVID season, I just want to say we need to stay home, stay safe. Remember, the virus only moves when you move. So then if you have nothing really important to be doing in town, just let's stay in our homes and let's be working from home. And definitely we all know this too shall pass. So then a big thank you to everyone, and definitely looking forward to our next webinar from once it comes through. We'll share that on the page. So thank you and have a nice evening. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.